Hello and welcome back to the book side of the internet. My name is Kristen. Thank you so much for joining me here. I have taken a small hiatus from posting on YouTube and from posting on Bookstagram and from reading, but we're back. So like I said, I have been in the hugest reading slump. All of May, the entirety of May, I have been in a huge reading slump. I've only finished one book, and that was because I started it in April, and that book was Shadow and Bone. I could tell because I finished it May 5th that I was already like entering a reading slump as I was reading it. So I was just like, oh, this is not gonna be good. So I finished it on the May 5th, and was in a reading slump. I tried to read Song of Achilles, which because I had been thinking about this a lot. So I was like, maybe if I reread this, it'll take me out of my reading slump and we'll be fine. I got to page like maybe 1 something and couldn't anymore. And in the middle of the month, I picked it up and I eventually got to page 236. So I have this much left and it's just not going to be finished. I've decided, at least not this month. I just decided that my mind didn't want to read. It didn't want to process words. So instead, I finished making my sweater. Fun times. I listened to Olivia Rodrigo's album like 20 times all the way through, and then eventually yesterday inspiration struck me and I started Act Your Age. I have to sneeze. Yesterday inspiration struck and I decided to start Act Your Age Eve Brown. Am I allergic to this book so I have to sneeze again? Okay. And I actually got really far yesterday alone. I got to page 224. It is a very easy read. I'm enjoying my time a lot. I have a lot of little tabbies sticking out of little cute moments. I actually stopped in the middle of a spicy scene last night because I was like, you know what? We'll finish this tomorrow. So I'm going to finish this book today, and I honestly think I'm ready to start reading again. Hence me posting on YouTube again. After all that blabbering and me making excuses, today's video is my 5-star reads from 2021, but in book quotes. So a little fact about me is that I love book quotes. I love when I can find a good line that makes me feel things, and I write them down. I have a whole wall you can't see right here. Maybe I'll pop a picture in. I started doing this last year where I would find my favorite quote from the book. I would write it on a paint chip and then I would stick it to my wall. So here's a little example that's going to be coming up later. It looks like this. It doesn't look the best because it's my handwriting, but it's a good way to like look at my wall and look at a book quote and remember that book. So let's just jump right into the video. So I'm going to be honest, I haven't counted how many 5-star reads I've had in 2021 so far. So we're just going to go by vibes. But to start off the year, I started with Crescent City by Miss Sarah J. Maas, aka House of Earth and Blood. This is my first read of 2021 and it was a 5-star read. So let me just tell you my favorite book quote from it. So this happens like towards the end of the book, I think, but none of these should have spoilers in them. Yeah, none of these have spoilers in them. I don't have any names or any like plot. They're really just lines that speak to me, if that makes sense. So the line from this that spoke to me was, to live, to love, knowing that it might all vanish tomorrow. It makes everything that much more precious. And that's really just that. I don't have any explanation of why I like that besides it makes me love life more. I'm not going to go into much detail. I'm just going to say the quotes because you can probably tell why I like them once you read the quote or if you've read the book. Does that make sense? And if it doesn't, I'm so very sorry. Next 5-star read was It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and my favorite line from this book is, there is no such thing as bad people. We're all just people who sometimes do bad things. This was actually said by a character that I don't like in the book, but I also think it's a very good line. But I feel like maybe there are bad people. I don't know, I just really like the line at the moment, and now I look back on the book entirely, maybe there are bad people, you know? Next up, one of my favorite books of 2021. I've said this multiple times. I have a whole video of me plugging this. Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellefleur. So what we'll come to notice about me personally is that I love anything that has to do with the stars, the moon, the sky at night, the sky during the day, the clouds, anything about the sky I love. And so I feel like this book was made for me. And let me just tell you my favorite quote from it. Life would be a whole lot better if we all spent a little more time staring at the stars. I don't know, like, I also agree with that. And so that's Written in the Stars for you. Can you tell that I haven't YouTubed in a while? Because I haven't. So the next 5-star book that I have is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. The quote that I have from it is, remember that to walk this world, you must be kind but also fierce. Clap when you land. I have not much to say, but that is very true, and you should read this book. So the next book that I rated 5 stars is actually pretty biased because, like I said, Written in the Stars is one of my favorite reads of 2021, so I just knew that I would love Hang the Moon, which is also by Alexandria Belfour and features one of the characters from the first book, which is Hang the Moon by Alexandria Belfour. This was 5 stars, mainly because I'm obsessed with Alexandria Belfour, and I can rate a book 5 stars just based on that. Okay, so the quote that I have from this book is kind of pretty simple, but still sums up the book so well. So it is, he looks at you like you hung the moon. Once again, it's a Sky reference, so how could I not put that down as one of my favorite quotes from the book. My next 5-star read was Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. This book was so hard-hitting, and I cried, I'm pretty sure, and it was just very good. And this is the quote that I have from that one. Trying to reclaim your life is a lot like drowning. If you know anything about the book, then you'll know that it's true. That once you go through major trauma, it's hard to go back to normal. And I just love that quote. Okay. Next up we have Lore by Alexandra Bracken. This book, I think it was because I was in New York at the time that I was reading this, but it just hit different. And I love Greek mythology, and so this book was just it for me. And the quote from this book I have is, "Scars are tallies of the battles you've survived." And yeah, okay. Now that I'm filming this video, I feel like nothing about it makes sense. Like, nobody cares, but we're just gonna finish this off and post it, and you can tell me what you think. This next book has an entire video dedicated to it, so if you want to see me cry multiple times on the internet for 30 minutes straight, A Little Life by Hanya Yamagahara. There's so many good quotes from this book that I could mention. There's so many good parts of this book. I love this book. I don't recommend it. Everyone says this book will damage you if you can be damaged, and I was damaged. And here's my favorite quote from the book. Wasn't friendship its own miracle? The finding of another person who made the entire lonely world seem somehow less lonely. Yep, exactly. She felt that too. I literally started tearing up just now. That's all. The next 3 books I'm going to lump together because it's the Ravenhood series by Kate Stewart, right? Yeah. The Ravenhood series by Kate Stewart. I'm going to just lump these all together and say one quote from all 3 because they were all 5-star reads. Let's just hold up Flock though because it's kind of heavy. So the quote that I chose is from Flock, the first book. My favorite books, love songs, movies, the ones that resonated with me, have kept me grieving long after I turned the last page, the notes faded out, or the credits rolled. And that's a good way to sum up this video as well, because I'm still thinking about these books long after I finish that last page. So next up we have From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. We all know that I'm obsessed with this book and obsessed with this series, and here's my favorite quote from this book in specific. Fear and bravery are often one and the same. It either makes you a warrior or a coward. The only difference is the person it resides in. From Blood and Ash. Following that, we obviously have A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And my favorite quote from this one is, there is no side of you that is not as beautiful as the other half. Not a single inch isn't stunning. His lashes lifted, and the intensity of his stare held me captive. That was true the first time I said it to you, and it is still the truth today and tomorrow. And then lastly, from the series, The Crown of Gilded Bones, obviously 5 stars. And the favorite quote from this one is, bow before your queen or bleed before her. Because it's so powerful and so true. Like, bow down before her or you will die. moving on. My last book on this list is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book was amazing. I cried, 5 stars, and here's my favorite quote from it. People think that intimacy is about sex, but intimacy is about truth. When you realize you can tell someone your truth, when you can show yourself to them, when you stand in front of them bare, and the response is, "You're safe with me." That's intimacy. I hope this gave you a little bit of insight into my 5 stars from 2021 and maybe make you want to read any of the ones that I mentioned. Comment down below what your favorite book quote is and leave me a like, subscribe down below. I will be going back to consistent content starting now, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye! Thank you for watching and staying with me even though I didn't post for a month. Oh, but I better look at my sweater. And I'm wearing sweatpants. All the things I did. Well, I hope I was your